Be great. Welcome back to another episode of Bleav in the Broncos on the Bleav Network, sponsored by Bet Online. That's Bri Maestas. I'm Patrick Chiotti. The Denver Broncos play playoff football tomorrow in Buffalo, in Orchard Park, against the Buffalo Bills, the number 2 seed in the AFC playoffs. Bri, it's going to be cold. It's going to be frigid. That's your favorite word to use when talking about Buffalo. How are you feeling the day before the big battle?
I'm cold myself. Frigid is my favorite word. I think that cold doesn't really wrap it up in a nice, neat little burrito there for everyone to digest. It's frigid. It's cold. In upstate New York, you're going to get just the grossness that is the current period of the winter. But it's not going to be snowy. It's not going to be this hellscape out there. So I don't know if Buffalo really gets that much of an advantage when it comes down to the weather. It's almost a nice, brisk day there.
Yeah, 33 degrees. Is the high tomorrow. No precipitation. That's a nice Denver winter day. 33 degrees. Hey, we can still go out and play some football. Welcome to the playoff preview episode. This is the first one in show history, Bri. We didn't get to do this last year. The other hosts of the Broncos Bleav show did not get to do this for 9 years. So hey, this is the first one, and I'm pretty pumped about it. The Broncos and the Bills looks on paper to be, number 2 versus number 7. Oh, this is going to be an easy game. It's going to be, Josh Allen is the MVP, and he's going to show why against one of the better defenses in the league. But I think people are steadily overlooking the Broncos, much like they did throughout the whole season. This has been kind of a recurrent theme. We're going to cover what the Broncos offense needs to do in this game to secure a victory, what the defense needs to do to step up and claim their first playoff victory since Super Bowl 50, who the X Factor player is in this game, and Bri's key matchup as well as my key matchup in this game going forward. This is going to be a really fun one, or it's going to be super stressful, and we're just going to have to live through it. Before we get into all of that, Bri, we have a message from our sponsors, Bet Online. They continue to be the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting going into 2025. Hey, Happy New Year. Whether you're a seasoned fan or a first-time bettor, Bet Online is your ultimate game day companion. With the largest selection of odds on everything from football to NBA, college basketball to NHL and UFC, Bet Online is the number one sports betting source for the new year. From touchdowns to three-pointers and hat tricks, Bet Online has you covered on every game, every play, and every win. Bet Online, the game starts here. And Bri, where we're going to start is with this Denver Broncos offense. Coming into this game, the offensive ranking for the Broncos right now, it's kind of a lie. Let's be honest. They're ranked 10th in the league in scoring offense, but I don't know. The defense put up a lot of points down the stretch. I think it helped add to that. But this offense still has seen tremendous growth throughout the season. This is not the same offense that we saw weeks 1, 2, even earlier in that first half of the season. This isn't the same offense. They've grown a ton. Bo Nix has done a great job of mitigating his rookie mistakes that he was making early on in the season. But it's still hopeful. This Bills defense is no slouch either, though. They're one of the better defenses in the league, but their pass defense is not super great. Run defense is pretty good, which the Broncos' run game leaves a little bit to be desired. Let's start this off. How do you see this game going for the Broncos offense? What do they need to do in order to win this game or just keep it close?
Yeah, I love that. The keep it close, win the game. I think all of those fall into the same category here as a Broncos fan leading into this first playoff game in 9 years, because I could see it going either way. We're chatting a little bit off screen there, where this result, I think, is why there's so much nervousness. I want to know the result already so I can stop trying to second guess and speculate and be nervous about it. Like, the last 3 games of the regular season were nerve-wracking enough, right? You're chasing that one last win. The Broncos, fan of the dramatics, kept it until the last game. And now you're headed to Buffalo, where it's ripe for upset here, as you consider the 7 seed Broncos going against the number 2 Bills. But that's what makes it so exciting here. If the Denver Broncos play their best football, we talk about it all the time, on any given Sunday, a team can beat another team. And I'm not that worried about this Bills team. I've said it on this previous show. Look at us, 2 times in 1 week going at it here, talking about the Broncos. But I don't think you need to be that afraid of this Bills team. And that's a caveat if only this Denver Broncos offense is able to score those points. And I think the quick starts that we've seen to end this season are a great trajectory for this Denver Broncos offense and Bo Nix. If Sean Payton can do exactly what he's done and start off strong, and they are able to carry that over into the second half, I think you're going to see a much more appreciable result here as we watch the Denver Broncos take on the Bills. I would hope that the offense is quick to score and that they are able to lean into Bo Nix. We'll talk about that later in the program, but I think the opportunity here is for him to shine in his rookie season. And if it's the end, right? If it's the end of the road, what are you putting as your punctuation mark on this season? And I think it's going to come down to what Bo Nix is able to really bring out of his offense. This entire team is young and hungry. We've heard it all season long since training camp began. And now they're at their dangerous point because there's not a whole lot to lose for this Denver Broncos team. Their season is already a winning one. Their era has started off on the right foot. The Bo Nix has been bestowed upon us, where we actually know that we have our guy, and the combination with him and Sean Payton, I mean, playing with house money here. I think that's been the narrative that's been preached by Broncos country all week. Is I'm feeling really good about it because there's not much to lose. And I'm not saying a win wouldn't be absolutely fantastic, that it's not something that's not in the cards, but I'm not going in with a thought process that they're playing not to lose. I think they're going out there just to play their best football. And that gives such an advantage to the underdog here. And I know you already mentioned that there is quite the spread there. I Bleav you said it was 9 points.
Yeah, 9-point underdogs.
I think that's almost a slap in the face, right? That's a little bit of motivation to go out there and at least make it close. I'm feeling it in the bones of my body that I think this offense is going to be able to crank it out. They've been great with scoring over that 26-point margin most of the season. And so I feel like we're less in this idea that they're not able to score the points. I think they just need to get ahead. No playing from behind with this Bills team led by Josh Allen is going to be a good omen for the Denver Broncos. So if they start out quick, they score, and they're efficient with what they've been able to put forth. And I think Sean Payton has the perfect game plan for that.
Yeah, and this offense, I mean, I love the fact that you bring up the young and hungry mantra, because we heard it from Quinn Miners earlier in the season. We heard it after the Chiefs game with Sean Payton. And those types of teams, Bri, where you go into a situation like this where no one is thinking that you're going to pull this off.
Right.
No one thinks that you're going to go into Buffalo and beat Josh Allen for a chance to go to Kansas City and play a division rival for the third time in one season. That's the team that you don't want to count out, because a man with nothing to lose, a team with nothing to lose, that's the team that you need to be most careful of, because they'll go out there and they'll mess around and, oh, hey, we just pulled off a big win, right? Like they'll take advantage of those situations where other teams are just caught in this like mindset of like, oh, well, we gotta win this game, gotta win this game, gotta win this game. If you take that away and you just think about execution. Like, let's just go out there, let's play our game. Let's, the result is the result, but we're going to go out there and we're just going to, do our best to execute our game plan. You might mess around and find out that you're winning the football game, right? So this offense is so peculiar because I'm looking at, how this Bills defense performs at home. Second best, or second fewest passing yards allowed at home this season. They've been stellar in that area. Fourth in yards per play, like fourth least amount of yards per play allowed at home this season. So this defense plays really well at home. But, we saw Sean Payton last year go into Buffalo. And, Buffalo is always one of those tough places to play. Monday night game, off a bye, with Russell Wilson at quarterback. And it really wasn't even so much Russ and the offense getting it done. It was the defense. If we remember that game the same way that I remember that game, Vance Joseph just wanted to force Josh Allen into really bad situations. And we'll talk about what the defense needs to do. But in that game, there were so many opportunities for the offense where Russ couldn't really get it done. Like they weren't able to execute the things that they probably should have. And they left points on the board. Mm-hmm. They left points out there. So I think that this game could be a similar it could be a similar situation where the defense is going to do everything they can to create opportunities for the offense. We saw this in the Cincinnati game where the defense was doing everything they could to create opportunities for the offense, but the offense just could not move the ball and get it done. And it was frustrating to watch. And I hope that they learned from that game, because this is not the time. Like you said, do not want to play from behind. This is not the time to do that. The time now, you've had all of these weeks of preparation. You've had all this time to get your mindset right. And now you're just going out there and playing football. Watch the dang game from last week, mm-hmm. and how well you executed. Doesn't matter who it's against. You executed the game plan to perfection. That's the mindset that they need to carry into this. I think that the big key for this offense is whatever you were doing with the run game last week and in the last few weeks, keep growing on that. I think that will be one of the biggest things for this offense going into this game is you have got, this is a good run defense, but you've got to stick with that run because you can build off the play action with it. Bri, is there one player? I know we said that we'll do this at another time, but let's do it for the offense. Is there one player for this offense that you would consider to be the X factor for the Denver Broncos in this match?
Listen, Pat, you knew exactly what you were doing. The segue there is almost perfect. It's got to be Bo Nix. It's got to be Bo Nix. You have to match the intensity of a Josh Allen, and you're talking about the run game. Well, who's got wheels on him like no other? That's Bo Nix. When you saw in the Kansas City game, that yards per run started to steadily climb throughout the game. That's almost the key indicator that your quarterback is doing what he needs to get done, especially because it's so important for those chunk plays to extend drives. And that's why the Broncos had a ridiculous amount of time of possession. If Bo Nix can go ahead and extend drives with his legs and maybe take off for a nice 36-yarder again, I think we're in for a very competitive game. It's got to be Bo Nix, not only because of his legs, but because all of it is going to fall on his shoulders to take Sean Payton's strategy and direct and maestro the choir that we see upon us. So yeah, the X factor is Bo Nix, and that is not to take away from the rest of the offense. It just will fall on his shoulders come Sunday. And I'm excited by it because I find that his confidence has grown all season. He's become so much more comfortable, and you get to see this entirely different characterization of your quarterback when they start to feel themselves. This is a huge stage. And it'll be the determining factor on kind of how we qualify Bo Nix's rookie year. Like beyond the stats, beyond the rookie of the week accolades that he has earned throughout his first season, this is kind of what you're going to remember Bo Nix as a rookie by. And I think that's why it's not gonna bother him. He's going to be unfazed by that. And it's really on him to correct those mistakes that we know he's going to make. He's not cured, he's not perfect. But if he's able to do the things that he does really well, set the feet, run the ball, and in a decided fashion. I don't want to see the weird scrambling and rollouts, right, a la Russell Wilson. I want to see a determined runner out there, and that's what we've seen these last couple of games. So I think that's why he's the key offensive player for this game on Sunday.
Bo Nix, certified flag football quarterback. Like certified flag football quarterback. I have played, so little background for the listeners. I have, I played adult tackle football for some years, but then after that, your body starts to get tired. You go and play flag football. One of the greatest moves for flag football quarterbacks, the pump fake 5 yards past the line of scrimmage. And it's hilarious because it works every single time. Without fail, it works. I love that choice, Bri, because I'm right there with you. I think the X factor for this Broncos offense has to be Bo Nix, simply because he is the guy that Sean Payton kind of pushed all the chips in on, right? Mm-hmm. This is the guy that everybody said was going to be a bust. That everybody said the Broncos made a big mistake in taking this guy. That he's a check down merchant, whatever. He has proven every single thing that draft analysts, that media bozos claimed about him before the draft, before the season. He has proved every single one of those things wrong throughout this season in some form or fashion, right? Oh, his arm strength isn't that great. Oh, okay. Well, here's a 67-yard bomb on a dot. Is that good enough for you? Are you not entertained? Right? Here's a throw off my back foot into the end zone with no time on the clock for a touchdown. Is that good enough for you? Here's a 94-yard touchdown that I threw on a scene. Like every single thing that they've said has been proven wrong by Bo Nix. And I think this game is just going to be no different. It's going to be one of those like, if he goes out there and he plays his ass off and he loses, I think the Broncos still they still have the future there. And it's only going to get better, right? You're only going to get more free agents because I don't know about you, but I watched and listened to that hype video that the Broncos put out. I saw John Franklin Myers patent Bo Nix on the back after I think it was his second or third interception in the Colts game. Hey, we got your back, right? We saw that multiple times throughout the season. We got your back. We heard him talking in the tunnel pre-game, about being great and focusing. This is the guy. So I think you're absolutely right on the X factor. Bo Nix has to be that guy in Buffalo tomorrow. Bri, let's switch gears. The defense. This Broncos defense, absolutely hungry. Most sacks in franchise history. Shout out to Nick Bonito, Zach Allen, Pat Surtain for being named to the AP All-Pro team. Massive announcement for not just for Pat, who has made this is his second All-Pro, second or third All-Pro, at 24 years old. That's crazy. Zach Allen getting named to the second team, Nick Bonito getting named to the second team. This defense is full of dogs, just absolute animals who are foaming at the mouth at this point to get to the quarterback. Bri, 3 times in NFL history, the team with the most sacks in the league in the regular season has played the team with the least amount of allowed sacks in the regular season. All 3 times, the team with the most sacks has won the game. This tomorrow will be the 4th time in NFL history that this has happened. Broncos are going to have to get after Josh Allen. What do you see as the as what the Broncos defense needs to do in this game against Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills offense?
I hate that it feels like you set me up every time, like you knew what I was going to say. But this Buffalo Bills offensive line, just right out of the park. I was going more for an alley-oop, but I am terrible at basketball. So, no, this Buffalo Bills offensive line keeps Allen tremendously clean. Like the amount of sacks he's taken this season is almost godly by any measure. All right. But I think that's where you find if you're going to live by that, you're also going to die by it. And you're facing the team in the NFL with the most sacks. And I think they have I think the Denver Broncos' greatest strengths align with their defense and what Vance Joseph has been able to do. I threw out a prediction for Let's Talk Broncos of at least 2 sacks, but I honestly think it'll be more. The Ravens had 3 against this team. And the Ravens are 2nd in sacks overall. Broncos being 1st. Honestly, the math just works out for me there. But 14 on the season is fewest by a team since 2009. And so they're doing something right there. And I want to give a lot of kudos to Josh Allen because his ability to maneuver that pocket and keep himself clean as well is not something that I'm going to let go by the wayside. But I think the opportunity presents itself for this Denver Broncos defense to really show what they're made out of. You got 2 sack leaders in the double digits with Cooper and Benito, where they're very hungry. If one of them's not going to get it, the other one's going to be right there. And then you have the just sheer I want to say monstrosities that are a Zach Allen or a Tillman coming from the interior, where all of those guys are absolutely built to put pressure on Josh Allen because he's a big guy. They're giant men. And I think that's what you have to throw at it. I don't think Vance Joseph is just going to shy by the wayside simply because Josh Allen is hard to take down. I think he's just going to throw his best at it. So the pressure there for the defense is going to be huge. And if you're applying pressure, you're applying the ability to make mistakes there for the Buffalo Bills offense. And I think that's going to be the key indication here. Don't worry about the shell coverage. Don't worry about the linebackers necessarily, but up on the defensive line, you have the ability to completely, I think it's an entry into chaos for this Denver Broncos team. If they can make this as uncomfortable as possible for Josh Allen, that's just going to preclude the ability for the offense to succeed. And that's the offset that you want to see throughout the game. How much are you taking away from the Bills in order to add on for your own team? And it's like the ballet that is the beauty of football, which is why I love it so much, because it's such a give and take. It's not just a quarterback versus the other guys. It's this team of, like you said, it dogs, man. And it's crazy saying that to start the season. I think you almost fell into the trick that was the narrative around the league and from all of the pundits that this team didn't have what it takes. Turns out they just weren't looking hard enough. So everyone who had those conversations preseason is going to have to look themselves in the mirror and come to an understanding that they need to watch more film or take a trip out to training camp and see what kind of guys we have out there, because the defense is firing on all cylinders. That means Vance Joseph is probably going to get another crack at a head coaching job with how beautifully he's done with this roster in the season. But a lot of these guys are going to be longstanding foundational pieces for this Denver Broncos team moving forward, which gives me just so much excitement moving forward. I want to keep them all. And Zach Seegers was giving me a little bit of hell there, because that in turn brings a little bit of cap frustrations and uncertainty. But listen, I don't care. Spend the money, Walton Penner Group. Let's keep these guys here. Homegrown talent. I mean, you got to sign them all. I don't like Pokemon Go over here. I'm going to collect them and I'm going to keep them, because I don't want any of this defense to go by the wayside. You have entered the period. The clock has started. It's not a time to purge or say, oh, we can get a younger guy in the draft. Not for these roles. You can't, at least not for a while. Development takes a second. So there's my ode, my flowers to the defense. I believe in them so wholeheartedly against this team that whatever pressure they're able to apply is going to be the right amount. And whatever outcome happens, it's going to be because the defense was a huge contributing factor in that.
Yeah. the Broncos defense has been a roller coaster of emotions for me throughout, especially just throughout the last like 4 or 5 games of the season. Riley Moss goes out. We have the horrendous performance from a guy who is no longer on the team against the Cleveland Browns. The meltdown in Los Angeles. Whoa. All love to our LA friends. Thinking of you. But the last like 4 or 5 games of the season were kind of rough for the pass defense for the Broncos. But there's no denying, like you said, there's no denying that the guys up front are absolutely rearing and ready to go against one of the tougher quarterbacks to bring down in the NFL. Josh Allen is a very large human who can get out of arm tackles and can get out of these sacks. And I've seen a couple times over the last few games where the Broncos have had quarterbacks within their grasp and kind of let them slip out, right? So I think that's something to watch for in this game from the Broncos defense is just can we close the sacks, right? It's important to get to the quarterback, but can we bring this guy down? Got to be able to bring him down. So I'm going to be looking right at DJ Jones, Zach Allen. I'm going to be looking right at Jonathan Cooper, Jonah Ellis, right at DeAndre Tillman. Bring this dude to the turf. Bring him down because the job is not done until he is knees, elbows, shoulders, head on the turf, right? Because if you don't, he's going to get out and he's going to get out of the pocket and he's going to make something happen with his legs or with his arm. He has been throwing on the run this year some of the stupidest throws I've ever seen. Yeah. And they're so good. I'm not going to sit here and say that he's the MVP over Lamar because I just don't think that's true.
Me neither. I'm glad we're on the same page.
I'm glad too. But I'm also not going to take anything away from Josh Allen because he has been absolutely fantastic this year. And doing so with a receiver core that a lot of people are kind of, underrating. Oh, they don't have a wide receiver one. They don't have this. It doesn't matter. They're still getting it done. And like I talked about in the last episode, they just have a group of guys that can get it done together. And that's literally all that matters. The biggest thing that I'm worried about in this game, Bri, for the Broncos defense, though, is the linebackers. That's my one thing. And Mina Kimes, you beat me to the punch. She was talking about the running backs out of the backfield being involved in the passing game. Broncos are one of the worst in the league at covering running backs out of the backfield. And that is where I just struggle so much because, and again, talked about it in the last episode, but offensive coordinator Joe Brady has been fantastic at calling plays for running backs out of the backfield. And they've been doing a really good job of executing that. The Broncos have been really bad at guarding that all year. It didn't matter if Singleton was healthy or not. They were still awful at covering running backs out of the backfield. So I would expect, I would expect like the Broncos defense to maybe put a little bit more emphasis on that. Maybe utilizing Drew Sanders in those situations, his athleticism, because I love Strnad. I like him in the run defense. I don't love him in coverage. And Cody Barton has been fine in coverage, but not great, and certainly not great at covering running backs out of the backfield. So that's where, I get a little worried with that aspect, but I think it's going to be an interesting one. I think if they can get pressure, if they can use their game plan from last year and how they attacked Josh Allen specifically, I think that they'll be able to get some of those opportunities where you can create turnovers. James Cook, fantastic running back, has had an amazing year. He's still got fumbleitis, and you can still rip that ball out from him. And I know Jaquan McMillan is hungry for another one. He got it on the first play of the game last year. My bold prediction is Jaquan McMillan is going to force a fumble in this game some way or another. Bri, who is your X factor player for this Broncos defense?
I was going to make a joke there, and then I didn't know how to set it up. That I just hope that the Bills run some heavy tight end sets, because then that solves all of our problems, right? So Kincaid and Knox, though, are the third and fifth leading receivers there for Josh Allen. So maybe I'm feeling a little bit better, because the Denver Broncos defense against tight ends and elite tight ends in general has been in an upward trend. So maybe, they're going to know, right? The strategy there is to stay completely away from it. But I'm hoping, right, that Kincaid and Knox are what Josh Allen is targeting throughout the game. But along the same lines, since that's not going to be my actual X factor, is probably going to have to be okay, there's 15 members of the Broncos defense that have been responsible for at least a half sack or more. So honestly, I want to see the pass rushers just absolutely eat out there. And maybe it's not contact sacks. Maybe it's they're tripling them. Like maybe they're half sacks out the ears, but it's got to be contact up front. It's got to be pressure on Josh Allen. So my X factor obviously has to be, it's not going to be one in general. It's going to, honestly, you could throw out, let me pull one of the lower ones. I mean, Devin Key has a sack. Let's be serious. Jordan Jackson, I'd love to see him step up. You already mentioned DJ Jones. Peach, he's got a sack, and honestly, when they were sending him to start, he was getting so close. I wonder why they backed off of that, and they haven't been leaning into it. But there's been some questions around the safety play in general, so there's probably a method to the madness there. But the key has to be pressure on Allen, and I hope it comes via sacks. But if it's just from pressure from the edge or the interior, I'm going to be a happy camper. And I think the best outcome for this game is if it's a defensive stronghold and both teams are just fighting tooth and nail to crawl across that finish lane, then that's a success in my book too, because then it shows that the defense hasn't fallen off, that they haven't been able to not compete against these stronger teams. But the Broncos defense almost seemed to play down to their opponents. And then they met a Chargers team that, is pretty good, a Bengals team and an offense that is stellar. And they gave up a ton of points. So this is a bounce back game for them, just to kind of really cement where they're headed, where they're going. But it's got to be pass rush against Josh Allen, because that is the kryptonite of this Denver Broncos team. I just want to see them take it away before he even has an opportunity to air it out. If we can keep those air yards to a minimum, I think we're in good standing.
Yeah. Defense has to be able to be on their P's and Q's. Offense needs to execute. But Bri, there's 3 phases of this game: offense, defense, special teams. And some would say special teams can help you win or lose games in a tremendous fashion. I've seen it a few times. The shout out to Frankie and Zach Seegers, your mortal enemy number one. The Broncos punt and kickoff units, both top 10 units.
Yes.
The Buffalo Bills kick coverage, one of the worst in the league. So there's an area, there's an area where the Broncos could utilize all-pro returner Marvin Mims. Field position is going to play a massive part in this game. And I think utilizing Mims in that fashion has been awesome for them. He is just so fun to watch on punt and kick coverage. But I think that could play a bigger role in that game than other people realize. If the Broncos can get their field position around midfield, 40, Denver 40 to midfield. Perfect. That is great operating. That's a great operating land point. Let's aim for that, right? So I think that's going to play a big part in this game as well. But Bri, I want to talk about key matchups. What is your key matchup for this game? Mano a mano, one dude versus another dude. Who is your key matchup in this game?
I want to see how much Patrick Surtain is able to take away from an entire either side or weaponry for Josh Allen. Like we talk about how often he's able to eliminate an entire game plan. And that's like your absolute wild card against a quarterback of that caliber. So what second guessing is Pat going to be able to induce on a Josh Allen? And I feel like it's the easy one because it's the most, it's like it invokes fear when you talk about it. Like you absolutely say, okay, who's Pat going to be on? What is he going to isolate? Who's going to be the determining factor here? And so a Josh Allen with his vision and the way he's able to see the field, what is he going to be seeing ghosts with Pat out there? PS2, all pro, best in the league. What is he eliminating from this game for an entire, like I said, like, is it an entire side of the field? Is it an entire weaponry altogether? I think he's the X factor of the entire game plan, just because of how much he limits an offense from actually having any efficiency. I mean, we've seen the numbers and the stats be damned, but it's pretty crazy to see the minimal amount of yards that he allows for the entirety of the season. So that's going to be, I think, my contributing one.
Yeah, I love that. Pat should absolutely be the number one, key for the Bills going into this game. Like wherever Pat Surtain is, we got to go away from that guy. He's really great at defending the run. He does not miss a tackle. Has not missed a single tackle all year, Bri.
That's
not a single
wild.
one. That's insane. That's nuts, right?
Right.
My key matchup for this game is going to be Courtland Sutton versus Christian Benford. Benford has quietly put up a really, really great season. I shouldn't say quietly. I think he was an all-pro as well, or second team all-pro. But he has been stellar this year. And seeing the relationship grow between Bo Nix and Courtland Sutton especially over the last quarter of the season, that's becoming one of the better wide receiver quarterback duos in the league. And shout out to Courtland Sutton for hitting his incentive bonus, getting over 1,000 yards. It's been nice to see him bounce back from a couple of bad seasons, a couple of like non-Courtland Sutton season drops, coming back from injury. Had a great season with Russ. I think he was just kind of getting back to being that dude. But man, his relationship with Bo Nix has been awesome. And I think they're going to try and take that away. So can Courtland Sutton, get a couple on Benford? There's going to be some jump ball opportunities for Court. He's got to be able to come down with them. We know he loves to perform in Buffalo because he got one of the most probable touchdowns of all time in Buffalo. So I think that's my key matchup for this game. How can Courtland Sutton kind of match up with Buffalo's own cornerback one, right? So that's going to be one of the things that I'm looking for. How will Bo Nix adjust to that as well? Are they going to be, are we going to hit more of the screen game with Marvin Mims? Please say yes. Please say yes, because it's working. Are we going to see a little bit more Devon Bailey? Please say yes, because it's working. That's it. It's fine. If you want to take away Courtland Sutton, great. You've got to be able to go to different options and hit them consistently. And I think if they can just get Bo on that track, mess around with him. Like use your eyes, Bo. Like, please just stare right at Court and be like, yeah, I'm going to throw to Cortland Sutton. Psych, wrong number. I'm throwing to the other guy, right? Utilize that, because the rest of this defense, there's still some holes. And I think there's still some areas where they can attack this Bills defense and get some big chunk plays. Like I said, utilize Marvin Mims in the screen game. I think it'll be a good game plan. Bri, Broncos play their first playoff game since Super Bowl 50 tomorrow. I'm excited. You're excited. What are you predicting for this game? And do the Broncos advance in the NFL playoffs?
I think as long as my moniker all week has been anything can happen on Sunday, I think the Broncos have an opportunity here. And I don't want to pick against them. I think with a team with very little to lose going up against a juggernaut that has to finally make it deep into the playoffs, right? The Bills are the team that needs this. They're running out of time with Josh Allen. And so I think that makes a lot of fans and the team in general a little frantic here as they wonder if what they have is enough to get it done. And I don't think this is the year that they do so. And so what a better prime opportunity for the Broncos to be able to make it interesting. And I know that spread makes everyone nervous. And I just feel this team has another joust left in them where they keep it interesting. I think the game will be close. I'm going 24-21, and I am going in favor of the Broncos. I think that 3 points is enough of a spread here. Obviously, it was 2 points this time last year, but I feel nervous, right? At this point, I'm throwing my hands up and saying the best case scenario is for it to be a 3-point swing. I would love that opportunity to be on the Broncos side. But Pat, you threw something new at me here. A special teams advantageous field position would be great, but a return for a touchdown would also be magnificent. So why not? Why not let that kind of make the contributing game changer for all of the smoke that Marvin Mims is creating for himself in this league? So I love it. I'm going 24-21. I don't even feel confident at this point. Like, again, I want to see this game play out, and I'm worried about a 40-point beatdown, right? Like, that would be the worst, because then we're going to have some long conversations here on Bleav in the Broncos. But, at least we'll have something to talk about. So
I'm extremely happy with your prediction, Bri. The special teams coordinator in me is incredibly pleased. Look, this is the first Broncos game in so many years in the playoffs. I looked over at my wife last night and I said, if they lose, I'm going to be okay. Because we got there. We put up a hell of a fight. If they lose by 40, I'm going to go absolutely nuclear. But they put up a hell of a fight all season long. We weren't supposed to be here. Like, nobody said. It's the old Chiefs adage, right? Like, nobody believed in us. You were favored to be the number one overall seed. I digress.
Broncos versus the world.
yeah, Broncos versus the world, baby. But if they go out, they perform their asses off. They make it a close game. I'll be happy. I won't be sad. I'll be sad that they're out of the playoffs, obviously, but I'll be really happy that they got there, because that's the stepping stone, right? I'm gonna say 31-27 Broncos.
Going with the over. Yeah.
31-27 Broncos. Offense has been clicking really well. Buffalo's a really tough team at home, but the legs of Bo Nix, the opportunistic feel of this game, the fact that Vance Joseph knows how to create pressure, I think all of those things add up. I think we do see a big special teams play in this game, whether that's a punt or kick return for a touchdown, or a blocked kick, a blocked punt, perhaps. I don't know. I think that this is going to be a really close game. Young and Hungry comes out on top in my projection. 31-27 Broncos. Will Lutz plays a big role in this game, I think. I think if they can just continue to get into good field position like we talked about, there will be plenty of opportunities for them to at least put points up on the board, and that's what matters. So that's the way I see it. Maybe a fumble recovery or a pick six, one of those two. I'll say maybe a special teams touchdown, but maybe a turnover touchdown as well, because I think that they're going to be really, really hungry for the ball. And I think the Broncos find themselves on the way to Kansas City next week. So that's what I think. Bri,
I'm hoping to extend it for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, have to. Young and hungry. That's the way. That's the mantra. That's the way we got to think. Bri, any last words about tomorrow's matchup? Any other comforting words for Broncos fans out there to help them cope with the maybe eventual dread of not only being kicked out of the playoffs, but also the stadium getting moved to Lone Tree, Colorado? What?
I mean, at least I'll be able to walk to the stadium. But the idea is it left me a little bit shocked. Dome, no dome. I don't know. That'll be our off-season conversation of trying to create a petition to submit to Damani and beg Mr. Leach not to make that decision. But sit pretty and be present. I think we all are looking for, like, I can't wait for Sunday to be here, but I've sat with the idea and the moment so much this week that we get to relish so infrequently in this feeling, and you only get a set amount of days in order to do it, right? We're running out of time. And that should be, honestly, if we want to go life lessons with Bri, that should be your moniker at all points and times. Wherever you're at in the moment, be present and understand that whatever happens was supposed to. With this, it is no different. We will talk about it. We will vent about it. We will have therapy sessions about it. But it's all up from here, Broncos country. What you've seen this team do up until this point is all it's all bankable memories and moments. And yes, it will be sad if they lose the game, but imagine how much joy you will feel knowing we get to head to Kansas City after this. So be present in the moment. We'll reflect on what happens after the fact, and we'll be here for you to talk you through it right here on Bleav in the Broncos.
That was beautiful. Yes, we will be here, win or lose. Broncos, Bills, tomorrow, 10 a.m. Pacific time. Can't wait. That's Bri Maestas. I'm Patrick Chiotti. Make sure that you subscribe to the show on whatever podcast platform you're listening to us on. Make sure that you follow us on whatever social media. Go over to the YouTube channel and subscribe there as well. We will be here, win or lose, after the game. Thank you so much for listening, and go Broncos.
Go Broncos.